Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest installment in my Changing Lives series of conversations with my fellow writers over 50 about the ways our beliefs and lives have changed in wonderful ways. And we're actually more able to live the lives we always wanted to and embrace our authentic selves because we're less worried about what other people will think. Um, and for those of you who don't know, my Substack is Changing Lives. The archives have hundreds of written blog post essays about my life, but more recently, I have found that I just love doing these lives so much and face to face interactions and people in the chat that I've kind of switched to doing these more and also having them available as audio podcasts on Apple and Spotify. But anyway, my guest today is Gail Kay, and she has been remarkably successful on Substack, and I'm eager to hear more about that. Imagine you are too. So, Gail, if you just want to introduce yourself briefly and share about your Substacks and what brought you here.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Gail. My full name is Gail Keys Allen, and my Substack is called The Old Black Lady Chronicles. And it's all about kind of me musing about being over 50, which I'm way over 50. But it's me encouraging women to step into their power, follow their dreams, be financially free, which most women, as we age, we become less stable financially. And so that's really what I'm all about. I am a coach, but I identify as a writer first and a coach second. I'm just loving being on Substack.
Wonderful. And what do you love about it most?
I love the community. It is so different than our typical social media. I love the community. It's almost like I've been welcomed to a new community because I started in February, so it hasn't really been that long. But I love being free and being me and talking about the topics that I want to talk about, which I didn't feel that on regular social media. So it just feels like I came home.
I can relate to that. As an introvert and a highly sensitive person, and someone who just found other social media way too toxic and
Mhm.
just not even appealing. To me, it was kind of like going to a cocktail party and all this superficial conversation
Mm.
or arguments about dumb stuff or being fake and talking about how, everything in your life is wonderful and how successful you are in your latest vacation, and I just can't stomach that. I've always been very blunt. People ask me what I think, I'll tell them straight up. Um, I'm just not willing to pretend, basically. And
Right.
Substack allows us, like you said, to be real, and people who resonate with our message subscribe or regularly read our work or follow us on Notes. And those who don't read our work, and they
Yeah,
have their work and their tribe, and that's fine.
totally, totally.
And I love that we can control which notes we see in our feed. So, if somebody says something I really don't want to hear more of, it's
Right.
easy to make sure that I don't.
Totally. I'm still learning Substack. There's so many different aspects to it, but I love that too. And I love how it's showing me people that I'm really interested in. And I wasn't really looking
Mhm.
per se, but my feed is very positive. My feed is even people that I didn't know I needed, but I like their work. So it's totally different than regular social media, and I'm embracing it.
Yeah, my favorite thing about Notes is that there's different options across the top of like for your feed, and the
Yeah,
first one is following, so it only shows notes from the people I'm following.
right.
And, every time I see a note that I like, I can click to follow that person. And it's just so easy to find kindred spirits. And now that I've started doing these lives to really get to know more people and
Mm,
explore other ways we might collaborate in the future. because so many of us are writing about similar things and
Yeah,
sharing our journey and what we've learned from it, and from going through really hard times and coming out on the other side, because we want to help other people who are going through hard times and be sure that they make it to the other side. And
totally.
so I focus primarily on mental health and also on spiritual health, since I'm a former pastor, and my beliefs have changed, so I can really empathize with, people who are going through that questioning phase, or they've already rejected stuff but their family still believes it. And you know it's just so important to be authentic. I think it's the only way to be healthy and happy, because if you can't be your real self where you are or with the people you're with, that's what needs to change, not you.
I agree. I agree.
So tell me a little bit more about, how you gained so many subscribers so quickly and continue to. Is there something specific you attribute that to? Or
Well, I wanna kinda start with how I got on Substack, and then I'll lead to that aspect of things. So, I've been coaching since, 2021, and, I quit my corporate job in 2021 to go into my business full time. But I have been my email list had been growing, but then it got to a point where it was pretty stagnant. And I just kept sending messages, and doing the whole social media thing, but my list was really shrinking, and I was trying to figure out, like, what is my next step? How am I going to get people opening my email? Because if people don't open your email, it's hard to have a business.
right,
And I followed someone that was on Substack, and she's an author, and I just one day had the thought, I really want to lean into writing. Like, ever since I was in college, I wanted to be a writer. I was talked out of it by my mentors that you can't make any money, and especially back in the day. And so I ended up going to school for business, which I never loved it, but it paid the bills.
right,
Um, so I just decided I'm really into manifestation and identity, like deciding to shift your identity. Like, we can be whoever we desire to be. And I said, I'm going to just lean into the identity of being a writer first and then a coach. That was my thought. And I went through my email list, and there were about 500, a little over 500 people that had not been opening my messages for like a year. So I just decided I'm just going to delete them. And I had to take a deep breath because you know how hard it is to get subscribers. But they weren't opening. And so I just said, I'm going to delete them and move my list to Substack, which that was a big thing because none of my coach people, my coach friends or mentors or anybody was talking about Substack. Um, but I moved my list, so I had about 1,500 people when I came to Substack, and I just started writing. And I had the idea about the Old Black Lady. First, I was going to do a podcast called the Old Black Lady Podcast. Um, but then I said, I want to take people behind the scenes and talk about what it's like to be old, to be Black, to be a woman. Because in my mind, those are all the reasons that people use for not being successful, or thinking they can't be successful.
right.
Oh, I'm old, I'm a woman, I'm Black. It doesn't even have to be Black, it could be anything,
Yeah,
any
just age being
nationality.
the big one.
Right. And I just decided to go all in speaking my truth. And in the beginning, it took me a little while to get some momentum, but then all of a sudden, I noticed all these people were starting to subscribe. And I also took a different approach than what is recommended for Substack. So I don't charge for my Substack, I don't have any paid offers. And Substack encourages you, to have a paid and free. But when I came to Substack, I just felt like it's too much for me to figure out all the bells and whistles. I'm just going to start free and monetize it with my by selling my coaching. And so I just figured that's how I'll start out, and then I'll decide later on if I'm going to turn on paid or not. Um, and so then I learned about notes. So I was posting, but I wasn't getting a lot of traction. But for me, I wasn't really paying that much attention to the numbers. But then just out of experiment, like I really like to experiment and see how things work. And I saw somebody say notes are how you really get people active and get yourself out there and get more subscribers. And so when I started getting all these people, I decided, let me figure out where they're coming from. Well, I one day posted two notes. I mean, I just go with the flow.
Mm.
I was no method to my madness. And I posted 2 different notes. I just realized they were both on the same day, and they both kind of went viral, what I would consider viral. Like, one of them has about 3,200 likes, and
Wow.
the other one has 2,500, 2,000, I don't know, somewhere around 2,000. So many of my subscribers have come from those 2 posts. And I could see that I really like, one was, me when I was in my 40s, so it's a picture comparing me in my 40s and me at 67 at the time when I took those pictures. And, it said, "Reinvention is always an option." That's the one that really got the most traction. And so many people are curious about why I look better at 69 now than I did at 42 or whenever I took that other picture. And when I look at the two and the feedback I've gotten from people is it's in my eyes. Like in the old picture, I had everything society says you should have. I was married, I had a big house, we had fancy cars. Like, I live outside of DC, so I was working in DC, corporate job, all the things, but I always knew something was missing, but I didn't know what it was, and my ex-husband, he provided a great life, but I always felt like something wasn't quite right. And so I spent a lot of years thinking I was doing something wrong, that I wasn't enough, and chasing that whole thing,
Mm.
exercise, like over exercising and dieting and like all the things on the outside. And when I compared the 2 pictures and I got divorced after 20 years of marriage, and it was due to infidelity, which I'm very open about that. Um, but I realized that I wasn't happy because I wasn't being my true self. I wasn't being my most authentic self. I was being who I thought I should be.
Yep.
I was being, the good wife and mom and employee and all the things, but I wasn't happy inside. And I couldn't figure out why I wasn't because I had everything
Right.
society said we should have.
Mhm.
Um, so once I got divorced, through therapy and like did some work with Iyanla Van Zant. Like I went to retreats I don't know if you know
I
Iyanla,
do, yes.
but I went to a couple of retreats with her and I started meditating and like really it's been years of going down the inner transformation road and not the outer transformation road. So I think when people see that picture, my eyes are brighter, I'm more sparkly, I'm happier, I want like, my business name is Free Her Soul Coaching, so my soul has been freed, and I think people see that in the picture. And so I really believe that's what so many people have been drawn to, that they can see the difference. And I'm talking about something that's different than most people are talking about. So most people are not talking about the inside out transformation. They're talking about the outside in transformation. And honestly, I'm very authentic in my stories. Like I view myself as a storyteller and teacher. So, I talk about the awkward things. I talk about the embarrassing things but I talk about the lessons that I've learned in them. Um, and then the other thing I think as far as financial success, because I was in a financial lull before I came to Substack, but I noticed that a lot of people on Substack focus on those teeny tiny amounts of money, whereas I focus on the higher ticket amounts of money. So I do offer like a 100 and $197 session, but I also offer $6,000 coaching package, a $3,000 coaching package for people that really want to go all in on a big, like totally transforming their lives. And that's how I've been able to make money quicker. It doesn't require a lot of people to make money quicker when you're charging more than $8 a person,
Right.
and
That's an
and
excellent point. Yeah, and definitely something that I'm struggling with because as a heart-centered entrepreneur, I just want to help everyone, and I'd do it all for free if I was wealthy and I could, right? But I'm not wealthy and I have to pay the rent, and um, but I still
right.
struggle with generating that income and putting my paid offers out there more often. One thing I
Well,
have done that's helped a lot is I joined a group called the Soulful Sales Society,
mhm.
and it's basic. And I'm also neurodivergent. I have ADHD and I've
Me
struggled with
too.
depression.
I and depression and
Yes,
ADHD,
wonderful.
and
We have so much in common because
I
everything
know,
you're
and
saying
I'm
about
an
your
empath.
Substack and telling stories and your background is similar in so many ways, and why I'm here and the things I write and talk about. Yeah, it's like we said, it's all about working on your inside so you can be happy because your external is never going to be happy. I know so many people that are like, if I just lost 50 pounds, then I'd be so happy with myself. And
No,
if they do, they're not any happier than when they
no,
started,
no,
right? Because that's
no,
not what really makes us happy.
not at all. I remember I worked with a woman years ago, and she lost, like, 50 pounds, and she said to me one day, "Why didn't anybody tell me that I wouldn't be happier after I lost the weight?" And that always stuck with me. She was so upset that you still have the same mind.
Hmm.
Like, the outside looks different, but you still have the same mind.
Yeah,
Uh,
the same limiting beliefs, like you mentioned earlier, about not being enough and the things we think we should do, even
eh,
if they're not what we really want. We're so conditioned that this is what success looks like, and you're a failure if you don't have these things. And
totally.
it's not okay to just say, nope, not doing that. Um, I wrote a little ebook that combines my nature photos because that's my big stress relief, happy place is being out in nature and watching the animals. Anyway, but it has my nature photo and a short quote that's related to it under it. But the whole message of the book is exactly that: embracing our uniqueness and
Mm,
rejecting the idea that we have to compete with others, and if they reach a milestone faster than we do, then there's something wrong with us, and that when we can truly embrace our own unique beauty and our own authentic selves, then we're also able to see everybody else's and truly value diversity and not feel threatened if somebody else is, different or more quote unquote successful.
and success, what is that really? We all get to measure success the way we want to, and when we try to live up to society's definition of success, you'll never be happy. So,
Exactly.
we have to define success for ourselves, and I now define it as me going after what makes me feel good. What makes me feel free and feel good. And that's even when it comes to my schedule, like how I work and who I work with and what I
Mhm.
write about and all of those things. And I wanted to say something else too about the money on Substack because I feel very strongly about this. A lot of times people are not going to invest even on the small amounts if they don't know us.
Mhm.
And so it only takes one new client to make what you could make in months with your subscriptions. So I really suggest to people that are new to not charge because we are giving lots of free value.
Mhm.
And if you found one person that paid you, let's say $3,000, which isn't a lot for coaching anymore, um, you would make so much more money than if you were chasing one or two subscribers. And so I came to Substack with a different mindset because I have been coaching for a couple of years and I was already charging at those rates. Um, but people are underselling themselves and they're not believing in their value. And so there's a lot of people on Substack that will pay us. I've had people see one post and hire me because of what I said in one post. Like someone hired me, I did a post about a younger man that I used to date and letting that relationship go. Someone hired me because she wants to be in a relationship. She thought she wanted to be with a younger man, but it really isn't about a younger man.
Right.
But she hired me from that one post. So, when we learn all the strategies, they talk about know, like, and trust and the whole thing. But if people read our stories and they relate to our stories, they start to trust us much quicker than a quick social media post.
Definitely.
So I really see that so many people are not leaning into their own power, into the fact that they have a lot to offer and they should charge at that rate.
Yeah, and
So,
that's exactly my struggle, so I appreciate you saying that. And I would love to know when you first started as a coach in 2021, like how number 1, how you initially got clients, and number 2, what gave you the confidence to charge those higher rates?
such great questions because this has been my journey. So, in 2020, during COVID, well, let me take it back a little bit more. In 2019, and I write about this, in 2019, I lost hearing in my left ear. I had an allergic reaction to CBD, and it caused my blood pressure to elevate. And I, it's kind of a mystery, but I lost hearing almost totally in my ear, and I was on medical leave from my job, and when I went back to my job I had been there for 16 years, and when I went back to my job, the whole energy there I was off for 4 months, actually, I couldn't walk, I couldn't function, I had vertigo, like, severe vertigo. I wrote an article about that too. I literally had to go to the hospital every day to get hyperbaric oxygen treatment in a chamber at the hospital. It
Mhm.
was crazy. I have gotten some of my hearing back since then, but when I went back to work, it was different energy, and it was time for raises a couple months later, and I worked for a law firm as an accountant, and the head partner told me that, he said, "We've decided you are highly compensated enough, and we are not willing to pay you any more money." And I asked, "Are you happy with my work?" "Oh, yeah, we're totally happy with your work. Everything is great. We're just not willing to pay you any more money." And it was like something shifted in me. And as a spiritual person, you will understand this. Literally, when he said that, I just looked at him and said, "Then I won't continue to work somewhere where my work is not valued." And I never had the courage to say that before. But when I went back to my office and sat down, it was literally like God was speaking to me. And I heard, they do not get to dictate how much money you make. Literally, I wouldn't even like, I don't even speak like that. Like, now I might, but back then, I was very insecure about the money, all of that, and I thought, "That is so true. They don't get to dictate how much money I make. I get to decide how much money I make." That was a revolutionary thought for me, for most
Mm.
people,
Mhm.
and so I went on this journey trying to figure out what is my next step, and I found this course called Made to Do This, and it was a 3-month course, it was $3,000, and that was I had not paid that kind of money for anything personal development before, but I just decided I need, and it was to help you figure out what you were born to do. And I took that course, and in that course, I got a hot seat coaching session in front of like 300 people. And the lady is talking to me and she's asking me all these questions. And I'm telling her, my mother died, my brother died of terminal cancer, I lost my hearing. I'm like, I call it diarrhea of the mouth. I
Yeah.
just was like, whatever. And it was just like another spiritual download. And I just was like, oh my God, all of these bad things have happened so I could be here to help other people. It was just like I had never considered that. And in that container was when I decided to become a coach. I also got joined coach certification, which was $18,000 I paid. I took that money out of my 401k because I was just like, I'm out. This is and I really admired the woman that I got certified by. So the woman in this course made to do this saw me like going all in and started promoting me as an amazing coach, as an amazing person. She has a huge platform. And so with her putting me out front in her platform, I started getting clients like crazy because, like I said, she's pretty well known online. And when I started out, I charged $3,000 for I charged $3,000 for 6 months at the time. That was the first clients I had, $3,000 for 6 months.
And
And
how often did you meet with them during that 6
back
months?
back then, I met with them weekly. Every week for 6 months, I met with them for $3,000. This could be a master class, actually. I'm because I'm gonna take you through the transition. And, so I was doing that, I was getting clients, and then I would started working with a money coach. And I decided that I was going to help women make money because I had been an accountant all those years. Joked and said I used to count rich people's money because the partners in the law firm were millionaires.
Right.
And I would have to report to them every month about how much, profit and loss and all the things. And so I started helping women make money. Well, I hired my own money coach, and she said, Gail, you're an excellent coach. You need to be charging more. Well, I was scared, but my coach told me to. So I raised my rate from 3K to 5K. Then I hired another coach, and it was a man. And he pretty much the same thing. After getting to know me, and I went to like Atlanta to some events with him, and he said, Gail, you're an excellent coach. I want you to double your rates. So I was just like, what the hell? Who's going to pay me $10,000 for 6 months? So I jumped in, and that's one thing with me. I'm a risk taker, and I just was like, okay, that's what I'm paying it for. My coach said charge 10K. I'm going, but you have to keep in mind too, this was in 2021, 2022. People were home with COVID, people were spending more money. And so people started paying me 10K. Like the first time I told somebody, I was so scared. I'm just like wanting to get it out. And I'm like, I charge 10K for 6 months and this is how it works. And like, I was just like, let me get it out. And the person said, oh, okay. How do I pay you? And I was just like, what the hell?
Mhm.
So I charged that for a while. Then my coach said, okay, it's time for you to charge 15K. And I about lost it, and I was just like I would be praying, like, "How am I going to tell people that I charge $15,000 for 6 months?" But I did it, and people started saying yes. So my first year so I quit my job in 2021. In 2022, I pretty much went all in on that, and I made $300,000. After making 105 was my last corporate salary. Since then, I've gone on a roller coaster ride of fear and ADHD and mindset issues and depression and a whole bunch of things have happened. And you're interviewing me at the right time because, yes, I'm in this course on getting a return on your investments. And yesterday, I literally had another one of those aha moments. But this time I was crying yesterday. But the whole thing was I was finally freed from the shame of having gone so high in my business and having things drop so low.
Mm.
And it was just kinda like a come to Jesus moment. So so now I charge 6,000 for 6 months, and, part of that is because Substack is a totally different kind of community. Before I was coaching coaches, a lot of coaches and people that were launching businesses, and and so they were writing it off. It was, an
Yeah, it was
investment.
easier for them to spend that much.
Yeah, and then part of it now the, field of coaching has changed a lot, and people aren't paying those high ticket unless you're, like, some big, big name
Right.
person, um, and so much of this and I want people watching to really take this in, so much of it is our belief about ourself. So much of it is what we tell ourselves that we can and can't do because so many people think, "I can't charge that amount." And when you say I can't, it's like coming up against a brick wall. And if you say you can't, you can't. Like, that's the truth. You can't because you said you can't.
Right.
But if you said you can, and my whole thing is, and I wrote about this too, but like I always say, I'll figure it out. Like, I might not have the confidence today to do it, but I'll figure it out and I'll do it scared. And so like, the newer clients that I've gotten, they didn't know me for years of know, like, and trust. They read 1 or 2 articles and took a chance on themselves. And so, in order for us to have success, I believe we have to take a chance. We have to have courage, and we have to take risks. And too many people are playing it safe, and too many people aren't thinking outside of the box. Like, I my thought is, "I'm gonna try that. Let me try something different. Let me try something other people aren't doing. Let me try dipping my toe into being more vulnerable and tell this story. Oh, people like, I pay attention. Oh, they
Mhm.
resonate with that. Let me talk more about that." So, that's kind of the history of how the flow is gone. So, for me, I'm not afraid to charge 6,000 because I used to charge
15. Yeah.
15,000, right? So, it's a mindset because I was scared to charge the 15, I was scared to charge 3. But also I know when I've tried to charge little bitty amounts, people don't sign up. So, I I mean, I know that Substack is an amazing platform, and at some point, I'm not saying I would never charge that, but it would have to be a container where I give, like, massive value. Like, what I'm thinking is, I'm gonna start talking more about how to look younger from the inside out, because that really resonates with a lot of people. So if I charged $10 let's say $10 a month, it would be that it came with coaching, a group coaching call, and resources, and not just access to read an article.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, I would charge that with really high value, with giving, a really high amount of value, not just, "Oh, you can read an article," but it would have to be something really high value for me, and I have noticed since I've been on this platform, I've seen a couple of people that don't charge for theirs either, and they have way more followers than I do, and they sell digital products or other things, so that is another option too, for people to bring in more money, and that's something that I'll be playing with more, because that's a easier entry point, but instead, you might sell a digital product for $47 instead of your subscription at $7.
Right. Yeah.
So $47 adds up, a lot faster
Mhm.
than 7. So
So
that
do you have, like, at the end of each of your posts, um, a call to action about your coaching or something? And and do you email subscribers in between your public posts? Like, how do you promote your offers
Yeah.
to people who are new to you?
Those are all things I'm playing with. Some posts I put that call to action, some I don't. Um, I haven't been emailing a lot in between, but I'm also playing with doing that more. Um, you asked me one other question. Um,
Basically, how do people find you who, didn't already know you or find you through that,
oh, I know.
program?
So what I did too on I created a page. So, on the main page of your Substack, it kind of looks like a website page on
Yeah,
the
you have the
computer.
tabs
And but
across the top, and
I
you can
have a
add to it.
tab that says coaching. So I have a coaching tab and then my offers on that tab. And then I also have a video testimonial from a client, and I'll be adding another one. And actually, I'll be changing my offers, but I did create a coaching tab at the top.
And
So
is that like a separate website that you pay for that tab directs people to, or is it you just created it all on Substack?
Well, I created the page on Substack and I send them to my calendar link. So they go to I use Calendly. So they go to Calendly to schedule a consult.
Yep.
Or if it's a paid, like of the one-off sessions, you pay for it. So I can collect money through Calendly. So when I send them the link, they pick their date and then they pay. So
Okay.
that's because I have a website, but it's not been updated in a long time. So I don't even send people to my website. If people ask me for my website, I give them my Substack. So but these strategies are working and they're working really well for me. So, I just encourage people to experiment and get outside the box and try something different. Because especially if your livelihood depends on what you're doing on Substack,
Mhm.
like mine does, like yours does for the most part, um, you have to get outside the box with your thinking. I mean, that's really what has led to my success.
Yeah, and thank you so much for sharing that, and because I know that inspires me and gives me hope, because I've known for a long time that my biggest hurdle is my mindset and my hesitancy to charge those higher rates, even though I fully believe and have had people tell me that, my working with me or reading my work, whatever, is transformational for them. It is healing. I do have a lot of value to offer because I have survived severe depression and a midlife career change I didn't expect or want at the time,
Right,
and on and on and on.
right.
Um, but it's my hesitancy to actually, put myself, even though I publish every week on Substack, to truly put my paid offers out there and to charge a fair price for them has been my struggle. And like you said, that's all inner work, my mindset.
Yeah, totally. And I'm afraid a lot of times too. But the reason we're afraid is because of the way we're thinking.
Right.
So I like when I feel the fear coming up, I just start questioning myself, like, what's the worst that can happen, Gail?
Yep.
Like, what? Nobody's going to message me and say, "Oh, you shouldn't be charging for your coaching," or nobody's ever told me, "Oh, you charge too much." I mean, maybe on a call they might say, "I really want to work with you, but I don't have that available right now."
Right.
But that doesn't mean my work isn't valuable.
Right.
Um, I just believe all these years of experience, and I've been in business before, I've had a brick and mortar business years ago before. I've been a personal trainer. So I was younger and business was different, but you still have to charge.
Right.
You don't market if you don't charge for your services, you don't have a business. And
Exactly.
and I can't pay my bills if I don't charge. Like
Yep. That's where
I
I'm at.
Yeah, I feel like the value that we give through our posting and our stories is what we give for free.
Hmm.
But that people that want their own transformation and their own personal help with the transformation that you teach or you talk about, then they pay.
Yep.
And there's an expression when people pay, they pay attention.
I agree with that totally. Yeah, even though I'm charging way too little, I do charge some at least for that stuff. partly for that reason, because I know if it's just free, then there's no investment. There's not the same level of dedication and showing up and actually doing the work between sessions. And
Right. So I really think for anybody that watches this, you have to make a mindset shift. You have to change your identity on a deeper level of who are you? Who do you desire to be? If you desire to be the person that makes, let's just say, 100,000,
mm,
for ease. If you desire to be that person or make 100,000 through the work you do on Substack and your offers, you have to show up every day as that person that makes it. You
yeah,
have to think the thoughts, you have to take the actions, you have to talk to people, you have to let people know who you are, what you do, what you offer, all of those things. Otherwise, nobody knows. And if we only say it once or twice, everybody's not going to see it.
yeah.
So,
That's the other thing. I don't say it nearly often enough. I mean, even when I offer something free and I let my friends and family know about it, if I tell them once, maybe mention it again a couple weeks or a month later, they don't even get it. And it's not because they
right.
don't want it; they just forget
Right,
about it, right?
right. And I would say I'm trying to make sure my phone is fully charged, but I would say I don't even try to sell to my friends and family. Like
Oh, yeah.
they were supportive in the beginning. They didn't pay me for coaching, but they were, encouraging. But the more we can talk to people that have no clue who we are, like one of my friends brought it to my attention. She said, "You're very good at connecting to people and their communities." And it was not even intentional. It's just like, I'm curious. So, now being on Substack, people are curious about me. So now I'm saying to myself, okay, they're curious about me. I need to be curious about them. So when I get curious, like you are giving me the idea, I need to go live. There's so many people I'm curious about. I'm going to start going live. This is just like really going live on Instagram or anything else. So we have to just keep trying different things and putting our face out there and letting people see us, which especially women have a lot of fears about being seen. That's a whole nother thing. But help people get past the fear of being in front of the camera, being the face of the business, calling what you do like Substack. Yes, you're a writer, but you have a business.
Hmm.
Like, you are a business person. I am a business person, whether we think of ourselves that way or not, So being visible all the time. I mean, sometimes I don't like the way I look and I think, oh, girl, get over it. This, like,
Yeah.
I'll look in the mirror and I'm like, looking kind of rough today or whatever. And it's like I put my lipstick on and take a picture and post it and keep going. Like, I don't give all those fears and thoughts a lot of attention, because most of the things we think are not even true. Like the thoughts where we're beating up on ourselves, they're not even true. And so I call it firing the liar. Like our
Mm.
brains will lie to us to keep us safe. But what we view as safety or what we view as danger isn't really dangerous. So it's like there's no danger here with me being on live with you. There's no danger with me posting my picture. Um, and people make up in their head, oh, what if somebody says something mean? Okay, so what? You don't know these people. I mean, I don't find that on Substack, really. I'm not.
Yeah, that's one way I'm fortunate, is that I'm used to being on camera. I'm used to some people not liking me and saying mean things every now and then. But like you said, these people are strangers to me. Why do I care that they seem to
Yeah,
take pleasure from trolling me or making inappropriate comment, whatever it might be,
right. Yeah,
that's on them, not me. It's not my problem. And
right.
I love the saying, what other people think, or it's not your business what other people think of you. Um,
Totally, totally.
and like you said, a lot of times what we think they think of us is not true at all. I know I'm my own harshest critic by far. So, and that's like you said, the voice trying to protect me from other people rejecting me, but yet nobody has when I put
But
myself out there. Quite the opposite. I can share stuff
totally.
that I would have been ashamed of before and have all these people chime in and say, "Me too. Thank you for talking about this, getting it out in the
Yes,
open."
totally. That's what happened to me yesterday when I was on that coaching call. There were like 120 people on that call, and here I am crying on the call in front of all these people. I cannot tell you how many people have reached out to me and thanked me. So the things that I had shame about, the things that I was embarrassed about, my failure in
Mm,
business, um, they were experiencing the same things. And so I do it too, but I'm aware so I don't stay in it as long as I used to or as
same.
long as my
Yep.
clients. Um, but it's normal, but when we stay in it is what causes the problem, not that we have the thoughts. That's totally
Absolutely.
normal.
Yeah.
But calling ourselves out and moving past it is really what we have to do to be online, to be in the world, really.
Yes.
We have to be willing to take a lot of risk, and I think people underestimate what it requires to make money. Like, we'll just keep it in Substack. I think people underestimate what it requires. Yes, you can write and put it out there and go on about your business, but it requires way more than that. And I have had people reach out to me and ask me, like one lady, she commented on Facebook, but she's on Substack, and she was kind of annoyed with me. She said, I'm a best-selling author, and I don't even have that many subscribers, and people aren't following me like that, but I'm not gonna pay you to tell me, or something like that, she
Uh-huh.
said. And it was like, I'm not asking her
Right.
to pay me, but also you could learn from me. Just because you've had success in one area doesn't mean it moves over to another area of life. And even if you've had success, it doesn't mean you can't learn something new either. Um, so, I would say you got to try different things. You have to have courage. You have to ask for the money. You have to,
Yep.
and it's not really like I view it more as being of service. So you have to
Same.
offer your service. You have to be of service. And also, when you when people pay you, they start to gain respect for themselves because they invested in themselves. They got the transformation they invested in, and then they start feeling better, and then it helps someone else. So we're making it selfish when we make it about, oh, I can't charge that amount. Well, it's not really about you, it's about the transformation that you're helping someone else get. And honestly, if I was charging, I don't know, $50 an hour or something, people are not going to view me as an expert. They're not going to see me in the same way. And that's the truth.
That's an excellent point, and I appreciate you pointing that out very much. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, someone said ripple in the pond effect,
Yeah.
totally. And that's how I view my work. It's like I help one person, they help their client or someone else, then they pass it on, pass it on, pass it on. And it's the same thing when we do our own personal work. Like I tell my clients all the time, you run, I'll keep it clean. I curse when I say it to them, but it's like you run the show. You run it, but you don't realize you're running it, but you're in charge. Your energy can move rooms, can move mountains, can move people. But if you don't step in that energy, nothing is moved. So I even test it at home, like with my daughter and my grandson. It's like I have certain boundaries. You might not like it at first, but then after I keep putting the boundary up, you're going to start taking it seriously. And then you see, oh, okay, she's serious.
Mhm.
And then they start to change. It's the same thing with our business. When we start showing up in a certain way, then it causes that ripple effect.
Absolutely. And like I mentioned the Soulful Sales Society before, it's a membership community that I pay for, and the main reason I joined it is because it has a big mindset piece,
Oh,
and it's all
good.
about marketing in an ethical way. Because one of my biggest obstacles was I'm not willing to use the pushy, manipulative tactics that, traditional marketing advice and studies supposedly show, like, this is the most effective marketing. You have to manipulate people emotionally, and, the whole.
Yeah,
And I no, I'm not doing that. I don't care if I'd make $20 million. I just can't do that, right? And so I'm learning now, yeah, I can still be my authentic self, and I can talk about the transformations that I give, and have people give testimonials about how much working with me helped them
yeah.
without, pushing people, buy today. This is last chance to get whatever and all the shit.
Totally, totally. And I don't push people. I don't try to force anything on anybody. It's like, if you want my help, I'm here to help you.
Exactly.
That's my approach.
Hmm.
And even when I'm on a consult with someone, I will say to them, "Do you want the help?" Because sometimes people want to vent, but they
Right.
really don't want to solve the problem, or they're
Yep.
not ready to.
Yep.
So I directly ask people, "Do you want my help?" I don't, try to say, "Oh, you have to have this, and if you don't sign up for this, you're the problem," or whatever. I don't
Mm,
even know. I don't, because I don't like when people did that to me.
exactly.
I've experienced that.
Hmm.
Um, but that's also not my personality or my way either. But I believe in transformation. I believe in coaching. I know it's changed my life. I've seen it change so many other people's lives. And so, yeah, I'm going to say, you need to hire me.
Hmm.
I'm an amazing coach, and I'm going to help you change your whole life
Yep.
because I changed my whole life. Right, and I changed my whole life. I hired when I was on my job, I left this piece out, but I hired a coach to help me quit my job, to help me with my mindset. Well, she had been in like a high level, I think she was like some kind of senior manager in a CPA firm who became a coach, and she quit and she started helping other people quit corporate to become coaches. So I felt like, well, I'm not a CPA, but I'm an accountant, and she would understand where I am, and she quit her job. So who's better to help me quit my job? So I started working with her because of her experience, because she had been down the road that I was entering.
Hmm.
And so that to me is so powerful. You tell your story, people see, they know you did it, you help other people do it. If you really want to change your life or have a certain transformation, who
Hmm.
better to help you than someone that has done it for themselves and, other people. So just like you, there's certain transformation that you help people get. You are the person to guide them through the transformation. So, why wouldn't someone be willing to pay you if they want that transformation?
Right.
Like, to me, that's how I look at it. It's like, I'm not selling you something you don't want. If you
Mhm.
want the transformation, the way to get it is to get help. And most of the time, when people aren't willing to pay, they don't get the transformation.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very true. And that's why I decided I was willing to pay for this Soulful Sales Society, because the woman who founded it, um, started from 0 and now makes a lot of money every year.
Mhm.
And she has ADHD like me, and she has had
Okay.
mental health challenges. So she gets it, and she has the same ethical values. And so her approach to marketing aligns with mine. And um, like you said, just the inspiration from someone who's been there and done that.
Okay.
And also the other thing I resonate with her, and that I do myself, and is I don't pretend that I have all the answers, or that my answers have to be, you have to do exactly the same as I do.
Oh, no.
Everybody's
No.
journey is different, and there are all kinds of different reasons why what worked for me isn't necessarily your path. And
Totally.
and I see my job as to help people find and trust their own
Oh,
answers.
totally. That's what coaching is, though, because I could tell you all the things that work for me, but we have to look at who you are
Mm,
and where you are on your journey. And, a big piece of coaching is asking people questions, like high
exactly.
level questions to help them come up with their own answers.
Mhm.
Um, but then you're there to give advice to as the person that's guiding them through the journey. Um, but
And
no,
to help them do it scared. Yeah, to give
yes,
that support
totally,
and encouragement. Just
totally.
like now, I have so many, people I know that are like, "Well, you know, how could you leave a career with a, so-called steady paycheck and healthcare benefits and all the things, and paid vacations, et cetera, and take this huge risk and even though I haven't made it yet financially, 100% this was totally worth it.
Oh,
If I had stayed in that well-paying job and not been able to fully speak my truth and be who I am and
mm,
always be on this kind of stage where people projected their expectations on me, I would have been far more miserable. I'd rather struggle financially than sell my soul and be a millionaire.
I was getting ready to say something very similar. I've had my struggles here and there. Money, business is up and down. It's not like one,
Right.
you're always ascending,
Always up.
but
Yeah.
but it's been so worth it. Oh my God. It's been so worth it to me. The ups, the downs, the lulls, all of it. It just is so worth it. And it increases your level of respect for yourself and trust of yourself. And you'll appreciate this. I was telling my coach yesterday, I said, I show up every day in faith. Like, if it was not for my faith, I don't know what would happen to me. I lean into my faith and I gave it an acronym. I say fully anticipate it to happen.
I like that. Hmm.
That's how I view, because for so many years when I was in the church heavily, people would say, "Where is your faith? Well, you should have faith." And I would be like, "Well, what does that mean?" Like, it just seemed like this abstract thing to me. And for me, now I've leaned into that. I know God's got my back, and I am always in belief, and that is part of the faith, that I fully believe that God has my back. And I just say I'm not going out like that. Like, I just believe God has me, and I'm not going out like that. And I lean into it no matter what things look like. And my mother used to say, that surpasses your understanding, like faith that surpasses
Yes.
understanding. And it's like, I don't need to understand it. I just need to believe that God has my back. So when other people are saying, "Oh, well, I could be homeless," same thing. And health insurance, what about health insurance? And what about those are just false barriers to me because
Yeah.
there's a solution to them all. But again, if you tell yourself, I can't do that, or I don't know how, or then you won't look for the solution. And
Speaking of
so,
mindset shift, since you mentioned health insurance, I have not had health insurance for 3 years now. And it,
ah,
it has been mind blowing because I'm spending way less on medical care than I did when I had insurance.
right.
And I had supposedly, the gold standard great health insurance,
Yeah, me
but
too.
my copay for each doctor's visit was $30. I now pay $25 for a doctor's visit. I do it online. It takes like 5 minutes because all I need is a new prescription for the same medication I've been on for years.
Mhm.
And if there is something physical, I can upload photos.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so things like that. And I belong to a membership prescription program. So every
Okay.
generic medication, $3 for 30 days, $6 for 90 days.
Well, I
All
need to
these things that
find
I'm
out what
spending
you're
less
using.
on. And not to mention with health insurance, you still have the deductible and the
Right.
copays and most employers now take some chunk of your paycheck out
Oh,
to offset their
a
cost of
big
giving you
chunk.
a big
Yeah.
chunk, yes,
Well,
bigger and bigger every time.
what's really disappointing for me? My job that I had, they were very generous. So all those years, I only paid $10 a month for top of the line insurance. So that was a blessing. But now that I'm on Medicare and you're required, I pay way more on Medicare than I ever paid when I was working a full-time
Yeah.
job, which is just blows my mind that literally I pay way more out of pocket on Medicare. I mean, without my business, it would be very challenging. And that's the other thing that I really promote for women to have a stream of income that supports you as you get older because I'm 69, right? You see how sharp my mind is, right?
Mhm.
There's no way I'm ready to stop working. There's like unless I got sick, I can work for a long time. So, somebody told me this and I said, "This is a perfect way to look at it." When I was going to quit my job, and I kept saying, I don't know, what am I gonna do for money?" And the woman was coaching me, and she said, "What if your job was your retirement plan? I mean, what if your business was your retirement plan?"
Mm.
And I was like, "What?" And I just lean into my business is my retirement plan.
Yeah, my last guest was actually an 81-year-old author who published her most recent book last year about
Okay.
her friendships with women who are 20 years older, some of whom are still alive at 100.
I need to find
Yeah.
that. Yes, that's amazing because we outlive the men in a large by a large
Mm,
majority, and women statistically under earn men. And so when it comes time to retire, most women don't have a fully funded whatever
right.
this
Mhm.
retirement plan. They don't get that much from Medicare. And so women are pushed into poverty much quicker than our male counterparts. And so I'm all for women helping women discover an income stream that can support you and you can still do as you get older. So that's a whole nother conversation. But
Right.
um yeah, we have to start thinking outside of the box. We really do.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're gonna wrap up soon here, but I just wanted to share.
Well,
Um,
I wanted to tell you too, I only have 14% left on my phone. So
okay. Well,
I'm
we're
like,
at an hour, and so we're gonna be ending very soon
okay.
anyway. But thank you so much for all of the wisdom that you have shared, and I have enjoyed our conversation. Every time I do one of these lives, I always say I could easily keep talking for at least an hour more.
Yeah,
Um,
this has been
and so
amazing.
I'm just very glad we connected this way and had this conversation. And I have read some of your posts. I'm going to go back and read more now from the Old Black Lady Chronicles, and I am loving them. And I encourage everyone who hasn't checked her Substack out yet to do so. You'll love the
Yeah,
stories and the positive attitude about aging, and that you can reinvent yourself at any age.
totally.
Um, a couple of quotes that I pulled from your post are, um, "Your light doesn't have an expiration date."
Mhm.
Love that message. Um, and your voice doesn't become less important, it becomes more essential.
Totally,
And that your my best years aren't behind me, they're happening now.
totally. It's all true.
Mhm.
And if people leaned into those, just those 3, it could change your life. Because the only reason why we think something's bad about aging is because society told us that,
Yes.
right? But there
Just
are
like the
others.
only reason we think the way to be successful is make a lot of money, have
Right.
brand new cars, nice house, etc.
Yes, totally, and I definitely debunk all of that.
Mm,
But other societies honor women as they age, you
yes.
know? So I just know that we get to choose what we believe, and if I believe that I can continue to work, continue to contribute to continue to have an amazing life to help other people change their life, then that's what I'm going to do. Right? But if I thought the opposite, that's true too. And so sometimes people say to me, well, it's not just about changing your thoughts, but that's a good place to begin.
Yeah,
Just to
that's like the
really
essential first step. As with,
totally,
mental health work, anything, recovering from an addiction, you name it. The first step is awareness. You can't change
totally,
something you don't acknowledge as a problem.
totally, totally. So I thank you for inviting me. because, sometimes I can have my head down and I'm not like all into everything that's going on. But like I said, you've inspired me to start doing interviews because there's so many people that are on this platform that I would love to know more about and get the word out, about them and share their story too. So I thank you. And really now people are inviting me to write more articles. So um I'll be doing that more too. So I'm excited about it all.
Wonderful. Yeah, I'm discovering the joys of collaboration also. Writing can be isolating, but it doesn't have to be. We can connect with each other and not see each other as competitors because we write about the
Yes,
same things and have the
right.
same message. We each have our own voice, our own stories to tell, our own way of helping people that's going to resonate with different people. And
Totally.
anyway, we do need to wrap this up, but thank you
Yes.
so much.
Thank
And
you.
loved talking with you. Have a great rest of your day. And thanks to all who joined us live.
Thank you a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.